today we're signing a letter of acceptance to build a Qatari Emiri Air Force facility at the Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho. The location will be host a contingent of Qatari F-15s and pilots to enhance our combined training, increase lethality, interoperability.
MAGA, this is why it's not okay for presidents to receive $400 million jets from a foreign government. Now, there are plenty of examples of seeing Pete Hegseth excited about something. This isn't it. Clearly, he's not thrilled about making this announcement from what appears to be his mother's basement. Another example of Donald Trump making a decision that works against the best interest of the United States. Qatar joins a growing list of countries that knows they can count on Donald Trump more than anyone else, regardless of what they do. Putin could count on Donald Trump never following through with any threats of sanctions or consequence whatsoever. Wouldn't even go so far as acknowledge the fact that Putin invaded Ukraine completely unprovoked, despite the fact that our soybean farmers are getting wiped out because China is buying soybeans from Argentina because of Trump's failed tariff policies. Donald Trump uses $20 billion of our tax money to bail out Argentina. And then there's the fact that Donald Trump continued to use our tax dollars to fund a genocide of a country that continued to defy ceasefire orders. In addition to the almost $6 billion a year we give to Israel, who provides free healthcare and education to its citizens, while we have student loan debt out the ass, while millions of U.S. citizens are facing losing their healthcare insurance or being completely unable to afford it due to Trump's potential 112% increase on premiums, the largest B-2 bomber attack in American history that in no way benefited the people of the United States of America. Just more of our tax dollars pissed away on behalf of Israel, a country that would soon demonstrate how much they actually respect our country and our president by bombing Qatar without giving Trump any notice whatsoever. Again, something we're doing on behalf of a country whose name you cannot use on social media without getting flagged, without getting a warning, or without your account getting taken down. You might want to find me on other platforms because I'm not sure how much longer that country will allow me to be on this one. And then there's the fact Qatar is tied to 9/11 through private funding. But, Trump got a jet.
There is no military bases on United States soil that are owned and operated by foreign countries where their troops are stationed here on United States soil. None. That is until today. Pete Hegseth, under the Trump administration, just decided that they were going to sign a letter of acceptance to allow the Qatari government to build an Air Force base in Idaho. Never before have we allowed a foreign country to operate a military base on our soil. Yet all of a sudden, the country that gave Donald Trump a Boeing 737 as a gift now gets permission to build a military base on our soil. Is there some kind of secret agenda here to let the Qataris help him fight this civil war so they win? Is he really afraid that our government will stand up to him? Our military will stand up to him? Guys, let me know what you think down in the comments. This is absolutely wild. This blows my mind. We're letting a foreign country have a military base in our country, in Idaho. This blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Please save this video. Please share this video. Please like this video. My name's Kyle. I'm running for Congress in the 2nd District of Connecticut. If you like this stuff, if you like my opinion, please go to my website, kylegauk.com. Check out my policies. You can donate there. You can volunteer there. You can sign up for the free weekly newsletter there. Or you can just reach out to me. And as always, if you made it this far, thank you. I love you. And this stuff just never ends. So we'll definitely talk again soon.
A U.S. official told us that this is actually pretty routine. This is something that the U.S., for example, has done with Germany and Singapore. And it's important to note that while the Qataris are going to be paying for this, they're going to be doing so through the foreign military sales process. The U.S. military is actually going to be physically building the facility. And we should also note that this is actually a project that dates back to 2022 under the Biden administration. They had been exploring this for several years, but it only recently came together in the last few weeks. The timing timing of this is definitely notable. Obviously, it also comes just weeks after President Trump signs an executive order for the U.S. to guarantee the security of Qatar, which is a really significant commitment to make to a non-NATO Arab ally. And of course, the U.S. Has also been praising Qatar for its role in the mediation of the talks between Israel and Hamas. And of course, let's not forget that Qatar gifted President Trump a luxury jet to use as the new Air Force One.
The deal allowing Qatari soldiers to train on U.S. soil isn't the national betrayal many Americans think it is. Qatar isn't building a foreign base inside America, nor will it have control over any U.S. military assets. The agreement is straightforward. Qatar is funding a training facility within a U.S. Air Force base under full American command to strengthen joint defense operations. The purpose is military cooperation, not occupation. Foreign allies, including Singapore and the UK, already train on U.S. soil without controversy. Yet when the partner is an Arab nation, suddenly the rhetoric shifts to paranoia about infiltration and sovereignty. The outrage rings hollow when you remember that the U.S. military maintains over 500 bases across the globe, on every continent, in dozens of sovereign nations. America routinely stations its troops, aircraft, and weapons thousands of kilometers from home, shaping foreign security landscapes in its own image. But when another country does something remotely similar on far smaller terms, many Americans act as though their borders are under siege. We have to be honest about this. It might feel unsettling to see foreign troops training on American soil, but fairness cuts both ways. The U.S. controls portions of land in other nations through hundreds of military bases, many of which operate with minimal local input or opposition. If America expects the world to tolerate its presence abroad, it should be able to stomach a fraction of that exchange at home.
No, Qatar is not building a military base in Idaho. Here's what's not happening. The headline is not telling the full truth. Qatar is not building a sovereign military base on U.S. soil. What's actually happening is a training partnership. And we've seen this kind before. It's not new. But here's what we do know. So y'all, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth actually confirmed that the U.S. signed a letter of acceptance with Qatar to host Qatari F-15 fighter jets and their pilots at Mountain Home Air Force Base in Idaho. Now, this is a training arrangement between the U.S. Air Force and the Qatari Emiri Air Force together, not a transfer of land or control. Okay, just to be clear, this is about joint exercises, operational readiness, and strengthening military partnerships. Okay, now, this is not a foreign air base. Let's explain. There is no foreign military base in the U.S., but some foreign militaries do maintain a presence for training. Okay, again, that's according to CBS News. I didn't make that up. Okay, that means Qatar isn't owning or running any U.S. base. The facility will sit inside an American base under American control, and the U.S. military still holds the keys. Period. Now, if this sounds familiar, it's because Singapore already has a similar setup at this exact same Air Force base. See, I didn't even know that. So why Idaho? Why Qatar? So Mountain Home Air Force Base is known for its wide open training airspace, okay, and its ability to host foreign Air Force units safely and securely. Qatar is a U.S. partner in the Gulf, so this partnership was going to allow pilots to train together, force them to learn each other's tactics, and our militaries are going to be able to coordinate more effectively in real world missions. Okay, so this is strategic positioning, not a secret land grab. Okay, but here's what we still don't know. So like any defense partnership, not everything is public. We don't know yet what this is really about, why this is happening, and what the timeline is for this construction to begin. The number of aircraft and pilots hasn't been disclosed. The fine print of the agreement hasn't yet been released, because I did actually look and try to see if I could find it. But U.S. jurisdiction still stands on that. So this is standard for military agreements like this. It's not unusual. Let's just put it like that. And that's according to time. Okay, I've dug a little bit deeper to find out, has this been done before? What does that look like, right? Okay, and then why is the internet spinning this? Well, a lot of it is that folks are just grabbing the headlines and they're running with it. Okay, so a lot of people didn't do the back work and really just want to run with it, because right now people are passionate about what's happening in this country. Okay. But that doesn't mean that we still aren't able, and we should not do our due diligence. So here's what we do know. This is not a Qatari controlled base. This is not a secret invasion. And this is a training arrangement. The U.S. has done this before, and have done it with other allies as well. Okay. So here's the bottom line. The Qatari training facility will be built at Mountain Home Air Force Base. It will not be their own base. It will be inside, okay? This is not a foreign military base on U.S. soil.
Facts matter. Qatar is not building an Air Force base in Idaho. And in fact, if you listen to what Pete Hegseth said, he also never said base. He said, we have approved a facility for the Qatari Air Force to train. Back in 2017, during Trump's first administration, he made a deal with Qatar that allowed them to purchase a bunch of F-15s. We also said at that time that we would train them on how to fly these F-15s. In exchange for that, they would become a friendly partner to the United States. In 2021, when the United States forcibly removed all of the forces remaining from Afghanistan, Qatar proved that they were a reliable partner by allowing us to evacuate people to Qatar. They took in our evacuees and refugees and helped with the transition of American troops out of Afghanistan back to the United States. In January of 2022, President Biden designated Qatar as a major non-NATO ally, which was a massive move signaling a deepening of the military relationship between the United States and Qatar. Also during the Biden administration, Qatar started purchasing cargo airplanes from the United States in a deal that they did with Boeing, which President Biden praised for bringing back U.S. manufacturing jobs. Military stuff moves slow. What happened today was the sort of finalization to say, yes, we're going to build a facility for Qatari Air Force pilots and their families to come and train in Idaho, just like we did for Singapore. We had the exact same deal with Singapore. Qatar is not getting a military base on American soil. They're getting bunks, they're getting some recreational facilities and classrooms. All of that is controlled by the U.S. military. And we build them their own facilities because the Qataris will not have access to the main house. This is a publicly available map of the mountain base in Idaho, okay? All of this is for Americans only. Well, but why can't we just go to Qatar and train them? Because the experts don't want to, okay? Part of the perk of being one of these trainers is the fact that you get to live on American soil. You have stability. So they make them come here, they put them in a shitty little facility while they're learning, and then they send them away. That's why. And Qatar did give us an Air Force base over there, okay? 10,000 U.S. troops are housed in Qatar right now. We run our own facility there. They will not have their own facility here. I'm not saying that Qatar is not trying to play Trump for extra favors. I'm just saying that if you are hysterical over the idea that Qatar is getting a base in America, they're not.
During the press briefing, Pete Hegseth didn't seem too thrilled about the idea either. What most people are missing is that this entire debate exposes a double standard built on fear rather than logic. Americans are quick to panic when foreign soldiers train on U.S. soil, but stay silent about the global reach of their own military. The United States has permanent bases scattered across other nations, often operating with broad immunity from local laws and near total autonomy. Host countries rarely get much say in how those bases function or what consequences they bring, whether it's environmental damage, social tension, or political strain. Yet the U.S. narrative frames these outposts as symbols of security and leadership. But when an ally like Qatar funds a small training program under full American command, it suddenly becomes a threat. The real issue isn't Qatar, it's the reflection. America doesn't like seeing its own behavior mirrored back at it. If the idea of limited military cooperation on home soil causes discomfort, what does that say to the nations already living with American troops and weapons stationed among them? The U.S. can't keep preaching partnership abroad while succumbing to suspicion at home. Real power is measured in consistency, not dominance. If America expects others to accept its global footprint, it should be willing to extend the same trust in return. Otherwise, those defensive bases overseas start to look less like symbols of security and more like the same intrusion Americans fear within their own borders.
There's some serious misinformation going around about this whole Qatar is allegedly getting an Air Force base in Idaho dedicated to them. And it's nobody's fault. Like, people are regurgitating that on this app and others, and it's not their fault. Don't blame them. You know who you need to blame is Pete Hegseth, because he said that was happening, and he is the Secretary of War, which he's not. He's the Secretary of Defense. And he is, by the way, second in command to Donald Trump of the entire U.S. military. He's giving misinformation, because what is actually going on, and I'm not saying this is any better, is that they are dedicating one facility at our existing Idaho Air Force Base for the Qatari Air Force to come and to train with our troops. Still not a good partnership. Let me tell you why. So just to clear the air, they're not getting their own military base. They're still getting a building or a facility with ours, but they're not building a separate base for them. Let's visit the case of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, or KSM, as I'm going to call him. And yes, I do have some notes I'm referring to because I want to get it right. We're not doing misinformation here. So KSM was considered the principal architect of 9/11. And if you don't know what 9/11 is, it was that giant terrorist attack on the United States in which thousands upon thousands of Americans died. And those who didn't die but were still part of that terrible day, a lot of them had lasting mental health effects, obviously, but also physical effects that in some cases took their lives. This quote-unquote mastermind behind 9/11, he was living in Doha, Qatar in the 90s. And as part of him being there, he was working for Qatar's Ministry of Electricity and Water under a government job, which was arranged for him allegedly by the Qatari royal family. 1996 rolls around, and the US has enough information and evidence to arrest KSM. So they call up Qatar and they're like, hey, he's not a good guy. Can you please arrest him? And instead, Qatar tips him off that he's going to be arrested. KSM was then able to flee to Afghanistan, where he was able to then mastermind the plan behind 9/11. It is quite literally possible that if Qatar had done what was right and arrested KSM, we might not have had September 11th, 2001. So Stephen Miller, who wants to get on X or Twitter or whatever the hell it's called now, and say that harboring illegals is a crime is total hypocrisy when you, as the US federal government, are willing to essentially harbor and train the Qatari Air Force.